Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 195 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. We have Steve Bacic here joining us in this episode, but before we get to him, I just invite you to click the like button if you enjoy these episodes, and if you want to get the show more exposure, consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, because we've got a few more before we hit 200 and take off for the rest of close down season 3, click the subscribe icon, and giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. As this is a live show, I have moderator Anthony in the YouTube chat collecting questions for Steve, so we'll be able to get those to him halfway through the show. Anthony will give those to me, and then I'll pass them on to Steve. Steve Bacic, Camulus on Stargate SG-1, also Major Coburn. Is it Bacic or Bacic?
Well, it's Bacic in terms of since I was a kid, that's how we ask people to in the American Canadian version, but in the Croatian version, it's Bacic.
Bacic. That's so much cooler.
Bacic. Actually, had one of my first conventions was in I believe it was England. I'd never been on a stage before. First day I bombed. I was on Andromeda. I hadn't been on. It was a Stargate convention, and they just brought me on as a special guest with the Stargate people. But I was on Andromeda. I'd done one or two Stargates, but nothing substantial, and it was crickets and tumbleweeds. I haven't done live theater in years, and so it was 800 people. And when they announced that Terrell was going to be doing signings in another room, almost all 800 of them left. So the next day, I had someone who was my assistant, I guess, or I'll call him a close friend, bring me a bottle of Crown Royal. And I just sat on the stage and I said, I'm going to have a good time, regardless of who shows up. But one of the things I did was that question, how do you pronounce your name, came up. And I said, well, why don't we get half the group to say Ba, and with the other half to do Ki, right? And so that became the thing, and because we're in England, they like doing chants. So after that it was just like home.
The convention crowd, Steve, is just it is a beast all on its own, and Terrell, especially in terms of the Stargate audience, Terrell commands that crowd. Like, she says jump, they say how high, and she has this energy about. I can understand why if that came up, then everyone just kind of cleared out for sure. But I remember you at GateCon a few years ago, and you were talking about, they asked me to come on again, be a god, wear a skirt, why not? And I must say, from one man to another, there's not many guys who can pull off a skirt. You did that well.
It's just another Friday night. Yeah, that's all it is. Having a good time. Work party,
Right? Hey, Cammy, he'll look great on that floor. Just get some beers in, get some beers and everyone else.
I think Camulus had a dark, his dark side is the opposite. So he's always dark and manipulative and evil, but the other side of him is he's like a 7-year-old girl. Just wants to play.
Right.
A little hopscotch, do a little drawing, play with butterflies, pet puppies. So when Camulus after dark is like the most innocent thing you could ever imagine. So yeah, that's in my mind.
Absolutely, I can just see him get in front of an Xbox, playing with the guys, drinking some beer, maybe doing some beer pong. Absolutely, wearing the skirt.
I would have done like a puppet show. I would have gone to a puppet show. So live, something, just so far removed from his evil ways and power mongering. Yeah.
I obviously want to get back to the sci-fi stuff in a few moments here, but Steve, you sent me this trailer. Is it called Sonata?
Did I lose you?
I'm right here. Can you hear? Yeah, sure. Take your time.
I don't see. Okay, let's see here. There you are.
Are we good?
Technical difficulties. I see you now.
This is why people go to NASCAR for the crashes. They turn into yeah.
Sonata is Moonlight Sonata is the score that I went with for the trailer because there's no royalties. It's an older piece, right? Okay. So I had a couple of I was playing with the music for the trailer, and the one I sent you was Moonlight Sonata, but the movie itself is called A Shrink, a Flat, and a Broken Key.
Wow. Okay. A shrink, a flat, and a broken key, which are basically the elements that are in. I want to, before we go any further into this, I want to play this trailer. Now, you act in this film. Are you involved in any other way as well?
Oh, absolutely. Everything from inception to we'll get into that story later, but yeah, from inception, and right now we're in the process in frustration of trying to deliver it. It's 99.9% done, as you and I spoke about earlier, and yeah, it's a beast. And from I've been most of my career has been as an actor, but as I try this producing stuff and creating stuff, I hear more and more from people who know that just to get it completed, just to get forget about selling it, forget about festivals, but just to be able to complete a project is a beast. And then the next parts get even harder because you're trying to get somebody else. Well, there we go again. I'm having such difficulty with my setup here.
You're good on my end.
Yeah, it's just something. It's gonna fall. I'll be up. You're gonna see the ceiling in a second.
Okay. I
might scream. I'm just trying to keep this tape on. It's such a bad setup. But anyway, so, but I mean, I refuse to let it die, and part of my soul says let it die because it is so painful. But I did go from inception. I had a screenwriter who we would go back and forth, and he did the technical aspects of the writing, and then when we wrote it about 8-9 years ago, and then COVID happened, and I shot another film, which I wrote with James Phillips, who we were on a series together, The Guard. He was one of the writers on that, and I'd worked with him on Arctic Air. He was a producer writer, and we maintained a good friendship, good working relationship. We came up with Alter, which was released on Tubi over the last year, and now it's going to different platforms. So what I was doing was creating concepts that were contained, that if I had a nickel, I could maybe make it.
Yeah.
That was the idea. Because I started making micro-budget movies in the States, and they were like, $250,000. And I go, okay, well, I've been involved in some not so great films that are $1 million too. And I go, these are actually better. And I'm going, it's a no-brainer. This should make money. Was I ever wrong? They don't make money. Somebody else is making the money. You there's so many angles where someone can screw you over, and maybe even not because of they want to, but there's so many ways to lose money. And so with these projects that I was doing, I decided not to bring any investors in at all, and I just did it on my own dime because I didn't want to be responsible for someone else's loss. If I was going to lose something, even with this one, the trailer you're going to show, I had to do a calculation on, was I to lose the money and time? Because there's a loose, you're only as good as your weakest link. And one of the people that I really relied on, you just don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
You get close to the extreme, they disappear. It's the weirdest thing. So I have to convince myself that I did that calculation before I even pulled the trigger on this film. But anyways, I'm talking a lot.
No, it's okay. I really want to show the trailer, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about it some more here. Let me go ahead and play this, and then we'll be right back. If you've got little kids watching, cool. It's pretty intense for the next couple of minutes here, so keep that in mind when we go ahead and play the trailer for Steve's film.
I think I did really good.
You'll come to know me as 50. Or run away. If it wasn't for some bad luck, you might not know me at all.
My goodness. Sweetheart, are you okay?
I pray you never meet them.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I had some car trouble down the road.
The wolves in sheep's clothing.
You want a beer?
Sure.
The demented who hide behind their god and their reason.
Both local law enforcement and the FBI have enlisted my help as a profiler.
Sound like you have all the answers to get away with murder.
I do.
Am I hearing this right? By me sparing your life, you're offering to school me to be a better killer.
If that's okay with your mother.
Their sick love.
I'd like to do more than just hold the camera this time.
My story, this story, takes place because of a shrink, a flat, and a broken key.
That is a shrink, a flat, and a broken key. And Steve, what's your character's name in this?
David Averbatch.
Averbatch.
I
Okay.
apologize if there's David Averbatch there. That there shouldn't be. Yeah, it probably is, but I don't think so. We did our research.
And who is this guy? The trailer talks about him being having a kind of a unique background to him. What can you say after that?
Well, he's on his way to consult on there's a situation at one of the local penitentiaries.
Oh, okay.
One of the things he does is forensics and profiling and that sort of stuff. His passion is the mind of the criminal, but he also consults to see if if the suicide at the prison was actually a suicide. He goes to investigate, and on the way out there, he hits a flat tire. So that's not a big deal. The problem is he's in the middle of nowhere. His key fob doesn't work, hence the broken key, and he can't get to his trunk. So he backtracks and goes to a farmhouse where he goes just to get possibly a C battery or crowbar or something just to get it at the trunk. Problem is the wrong house.
God.
And he has to get out of the situation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the fob is a part of the situation of the story. I hate those darn things, and it's in situations like this where it's like, you know what, it's really going to do us in when you need to get access to your car, and you're in an area with perhaps no cell phone coverage. What do? You walk, and you walk.
And in the story, you'll see the cell phone coverage is a little bit broken, and he tries to get a tow truck out, but the guy's a complete ass, and so all that is covered. And even there's a latch. The latch is broken. It's just the perfect storm for him to be stuck. But being a capable guy who deals with criminals for his whole career, he isn't that worried. And that's that is also. I don't want to give away too much of the story.
Yeah.
But he relies heavily on his intelligence to navigate the situation. Yeah. And I took this from Inception. Technical writing was done, and then when I landed on, because of COVID and a bunch of other things going on, and the climate in Hollywood right now is, you got to create your own work and make it work. Even though I'm fortunate enough to keep working, I get bored in between things, and I want to be creative all the time. So I just thought, I'm not going to sit here bitch about the situation, because a lot of people are bitching about getting somebody else to help them out of their situations. They're not willing to do any of the work. It's always someone else's fault. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. I mean, I'll do my fair share of bitching, but at the same time, even in this particular case,
Yeah.
it was a risk. People said, don't do it. Do it with other people's money, and get this group involved, get that group involved, get guarantee. I'm like, that to me sounds like fear, and that sounds like the opposite of being creative. And I'm not in this business to teach anyone or to. I want to entertain and give my perspective as an artist on certain things. You wouldn't tell Rembrandt or Picasso how to paint. And I think the industry today is telling them how to communicate their ideas. And I just think, from my perspective, that's the opposite of being creative. That's the opposite of any sort of freedom, which art should be about freedom of expression, no matter what that expression is.
Mm-hmm.
And people can tune in. I don't care. I just don't want anyone telling me what to do.
Right. Well,
I do that enough in my regular gig, that's what's some uses. It works. They tell you what to do, and I go, okay, fine, I'll listen. But yeah, which and it's funny because in this particular scenario, because of budget, I'm involving people that don't have experience. And being an actor first, I want to share and I want to be collaborative and remove ego, but then that ends up biting you in the butt because they're so inexperienced, they don't know protocol. And all of a sudden you got people that don't have experience telling you what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And now I've created a monster. So I always think I'm going to do better the next one, but I never learn. Sorry, I'm just keep adjusting my tape here.
No, you're good. I think it's important for you to take a risk on yourself and a creative vision and say, I'm going to do what I have to do to give this project life and to give it to give something birth to something that has some depth to it and has something to say, and that's a thriller, and that's something that you're going to say, hey, you want to have a good time for 90 minutes to 2 hours, let's watch this. It'll take you away. So, whoop. Are you still with me?
Sorry, the thing fell like my worst nightmare. There.
It's okay.
You mean?
Not yet. There you are. There you are. Perfect.
So this means for the next 50 minutes or whatever, I'm gonna hold up my my tablet.
Well, you look great from here, so as long as that's okay, yeah, you're good. But I'm excited for you, and please keep me in the loop on how this goes, because I want to continue to promote it, and regardless of wherever it turns up, I want my audience to be able to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other one, which is called Alter, I don't know where the distributor is putting it next. It was on Tubi. I think it's coming back because, again, similar idea, thriller. That particular theme is, so in A Shrink, a Flat, and Broken Key, we're dealing with serial killers. Okay, mother and son team, which is usual, and there's I don't know if there's subtle messages in there, but there's definitely some messages about hypocrisy and the morality and those sorts of things. And the other one, Alter, was more dealing with schizophrenia, mental illness in a different way, and possible possession.
Wow.
So you don't know what's going on. And I like to, create red herrings and do little twists and things like that in the story. Because I don't know if you need money to be creative. I don't think you need money to be creative.
Look at Blair Witch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it's isn't it one of the, in terms of ratio, it grows some of the best money in terms of what cost to gross revenue ratio. So
if you have a good idea and you have the right platform and view, money is not always the name of the game, So
well, oftentimes the sequel is not as good as the original that had no money.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Steve, can you?
I'm gonna.
Oh,
here we go.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
That's funny. Anyways.
Okay.
We must keep moving.
Can you please take me back to your first audition with SG-1 with Major Coburn. How long were you aware of Stargate? Had you seen any of it before? And tell me about getting that first role. I think season 3.
I read for Tilk, believe it or not.
You did.
Yeah, when it first, and I remember not having any concept of, going back, and I don't remember a lot of things because I got to keep my short term and my long term memory. I got to delete things as I go, but I do remember going in for that, and I had this vest that was on one side it was like leather, brown leather, and the inside it was this white sort of cottony fleece idea, pretty thick, interesting looking vest. And I thought, well, if I turn this thing inside out, and that's all I wore, I just wore it unzipped, went in, and you're always guessing what, especially when the show hadn't aired yet. I had no con of it. So you go in and it's almost laughable, some of the things I did in audition rooms. I mean, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'll go, you fool. One, get out of the business. And secondly, don't do that. Whatever it is that you're just about to do, your choices, don't do those. So yeah, I was actually surprised. I read quite a bit for the show, and for composition and personal preference can keep people who are competent from certain shows. I knew actors that never got on Stargate, and they were good actors, but for whatever reason, either someone didn't like them, or could be casting, could be one of the producers, whoever the power was, or perhaps they just looked too similar to someone on the show. And that often happens. That can work for you, and that can work against you, right? So, yeah.
Do some actors just audition poorly?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I think my auditioning was like my golf game. Sometimes it was a great shot, and sometimes it was just miserable and horrible. And I'll knock wood here. I don't think these days, I think I can turn in pretty decent work consistently because I have a better understanding of what's going on. It doesn't guarantee you anything, though. It doesn't you're going to get the role.
Right.
I remember some auditions like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed by them. And then you're shortlisted, and you're actually get the role. And what are they thinking? But then you realize that they probably thought maybe you had a bad day, and they look at your resume, and you're the right fit. So the business that we're in, there's no rhyme, there's no reason at all. And like I said, I wish my piece of advice to anyone that wants to get involved in anything creative, don't ever go for an end result. Don't go for the job. Don't go for the finished painting. Get it deeply involved in process, whatever the process is. Be in the moment, engage. You do all your work, but enjoy all the work. And everybody, even in my movies here, everybody wants their credit. Everyone wants the shiny object, but no one was up with me at 4:00 in the morning doing rewrites,
right?
Or dealing with putting out fires, or but everyone wants, give me money, give me this, give me this, give me this.
Right.
People don't want to do the work. And I said this conversation yesterday with someone. This business is I don't know what people think it is, but it's hard. It is very, very hard, and you gotta be mentally tough to deal with it. You cannot rely on someone else's. They think you're great, cool. They think you're all cool. That doesn't matter. Don't make it about that. You gotta be aware. You gotta be up to. You personally can measure it and go, am I improving? Am I getting worse? And what do you measure it against? It's supposed to be art. Now, if I'm ever advising someone who wants to get in business, I say, read as many books on acting as you possibly can. Consider who you are, know who you are, accept who you are, and then share who you are. Now, from that center point, you can expand into anything, because everything's about personal perception. And the only way to alter personal perception is to know what your perception is. So often people just work in these, masks. We're not really connected to anything, right? So I go, you get to know yourself, look at all the different techniques that they're trying to teach you, and figure out a way to tell the truth. Period. And so whether you're reading for Coburn or Camulus or whoever, you have to be at some point, somehow, through your emotional energy, connected to that being and their truth through your truth.
Wow.
So technique, whatever that is, I don't care what the technique is, but there's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of fucked up, greedy people out there who, create formulas, they have their teachings, their books, their cults. And a lot of them, they don't work. They don't work. And they're teaching people what to do. It's insane, So I was a victim to a few of those people, and I was lucky that I ever worked because I believed some of them, Yeah.
Well,
does that make any sense?
It does. I think casting is purely subjective, and I think that you're giving some fair warnings as to what to expect. And I'm delighted to hear that you read for the role of Teal'c, and I think that you would have made a good one. So they brought you in for Coburn. What was it like getting your feet wet into Stargate? It was already in season 3 at that point, compared to some of the other stuff that you worked on. What was Stargate like to experience?
It wasn't much to do. There was talk of coming. They always give you that thing of it's recurring. You could develop into, and a lot of people, like I know a lot of people, either in Battlestar or even my Andromeda or where. Like I happen to be one of those stories where I just, I gave one of the writers an idea season 1, and I came back through the seasons, and then as a major part in season 4. So I already knew that there's always a possibility of more development. At that stage in my career, it was just happy to work. I didn't really have a bigger concept of it. I didn't understand the scope of the show. How popular it was going to become, and it's one of the as far as fan base goes, it's extremely loyal fan base to this day. I'm surprised they're not making movies continually still
with Stargate. Yeah, that's the rights and acquisition by Amazon is a separate conversation, but it's one of those where sooner or later it's got so many legs that it's just a matter of time before it comes back in some other form. So
exactly, and they're gonna. I think Taylor Sheridan just has to do it. Anything that Taylor Sheridan does, he can make anything now. It's like what's fun with him is I actually went in. Many years ago, he was an acting coach. He was an actor who also coached. I was down in L.A. and I can't remember what I was reading for, but one of my friends, she'd recommended him because my agent was saying, "Look, you're getting good feedback. There's something missing. Everyone's getting coaching. Go get a coach." And Taylor was the guy. And he just gave me perspective of the psychology of the room. Says what you're doing as, performance is fine, but what are you doing in the room? And here's a guy that just now does what he wants to do. It's incredible. Like, after Sicario, I don't know. He must have formed some really good relationships with key actors. He read enough. Again, his body of work or his body of experience, having helped so many actors, was immense, and he was able to apply that and execute. So it's relationships, it's knowledge, it's timing, it's all these things. There might be another person like him out there that's you wouldn't even know about, but because it's just that one little nudge, all of a sudden you can green light anything.
Yeah, once you're through a certain number of doors, it's like, well, now you're at the next phase. So for sure.
Exactly. And again, but I was watching an interview with Robert De Niro, and they're at this round table, and his perspective I really love is because it's the same ideas. You never know, you never take it too seriously. You never take yourself too seriously because you could disappear like that in this industry. So never take anything for granted, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's also good life policy as well. In day-to-day life. So
we're just a blip in an immense vastness of nothing, and the fact that we're sitting here and having this experience, yeah, it's cool. Otherwise just the Abyss again, which is fine too.
Exactly. Well, I prefer this to the Abyss, but yeah.
I have no idea. I don't remember the Abyss.
Right.
Hey, can you send me a postcard? I'm my imaginary friend.
That's funny.
So, yeah, he's on the other side. He's on the other side of the gate.
Exactly. Steve, tell me about the Celtic god Camulus.
What do you want to know?
I want to know what it was like to return to the show for season 8. What it was like being a part of that last round of Goa'uld, who were really, the rats on the Titanic. They know their dominion is over, and they know that they're in trouble, and they are coming with hat in hand to Earth, completely 180 degrees from what the Goa'uld were doing to them 5 years before.
Right.
What was it like playing that part? Yeah, what was it like playing the part?
Well,
bedroom scenes.
I would have liked to have been able to to me. It was like a scab on a just like a little scab on the body, and I only got to pick at it a little. I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to play, so I felt kind of unfulfilled.
Okay.
I just got to play Richard a little bit. We got to have a little bit of this and that, but that's ultimately when as an artist, as someone, I'll give 100% of whatever I got to whatever it is at the time. But ultimately with that, I felt that there could have been so much more. And, what it became, what that particular series of events and scenes and what he was going through it was poker. It was a poker game. So that's how I approached it. Who's bluffing who? What can I get? But ultimately, I was at the mercy of, whoever controlled the table, and it wasn't me anymore. I pretended it was me, but it wasn't me. So psychologically, that's where I went with it, and that is always enjoyable. I mean, whenever you're an actor who's already acting is pretending, and then in the pretending you're pretending. So, yeah, that's how I approach that.
It was such a shock when Elizabeth Weir, played by Tori Higginson, comes down to the cell, and he basically says to her, "Please don't send me back. I can be of use to you here." And it's like, whoa, this guy, if he goes back there, he knows that Ball's going to kill him. He doesn't want to go back.
Right.
It was like one of those moments where it's like, this is completely uncharted territory for us dealing with our arch enemy. That was wild, and you played it very convincingly.
Well, that's the goal, right? Like I said earlier, whatever the truth is for that character, for me, that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And everything's got to be relatable. I was, again, of course, also you're dealing with, the writers and the directors and whatever their concept of it is. If they let you go, you just go, and that's when you got to have your work ready. Sometimes when you don't have strong choices, and you think they're going to direct you, they don't. And then other times, you'll have all your strong choices, but they'll redirect you. So you got to be ready for anything. But I try to, I hate to say the word, humanize him in his vulnerability in that moment, because I have to connect with the other character to get what I want from anybody. I have to find something in them that sympathizes with me.
Absolutely.
So that was the idea behind that scene and subsequent scenes after that.
Absolutely.
So I think Camulus, ultimately, if he got what he wanted, he'd mess shit up on Earth as much as he could. Look, once he negotiated way out of death and exile, if it wasn't exile, he would. Yeah, I don't think he'd ever learn. I would hope he would never learn and never become a good guy, or good god, I should say.
Right.
Yeah. I would not have allowed it. I would have had my little secret looks to the camera when the other characters trust me, and You better not trust me.
Even Ball, when he ended up on Earth, he was still more of a smarmy businessman. You know, the Goa'uld, they're always going to have their secrets. So, and I always wonder what happened to Camulus when he took that ZPM and walked back through the Stargate. I wonder where he ended up, and I wonder just how long he survived wherever he ended up, because we don't hear from him after that. That's it. So someone cut him off.
I think he should be in the sequel of Guardians of the Galaxy if they ever do another one. He's out there.
You showed up in Stargate Continuum. You know,
right.
What a delight was that with all the other Goa'uld Mardi Gras Part 2. Tell us about coming back for Continuum.
Well, again, I think Martin Wood was directing that one too. So by that point, everyone I got to know the rest of the cast, and although I mean Martin directed us in Andromeda as well. I got to know the writers and producers. I'm still friends with a lot of them. It was a blast. I mean, my only regret with it was that I hadn't become part of that family a little sooner, and we just couldn't play a little bit more.
Right.
And again, personally, I liked so much of the cast and crew, and then professionally, the scope of it, you know, it would have been very good for the career as well, you know. So,
how well did you know Cliff Simon?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit there.
How well did you know Cliff Simon?
Who?
Cliff Simon, Ball.
I don't really know. I just to see him at conventions. I didn't really know him.
Okay.
So we didn't hang out. We didn't hang out like off that set, but I'd see him again at conventions. But I didn't really know him.
Oh, okay.
How well do you know him?
Well, he passed away. He passed away about 2.5, I guess, years ago now, and yeah, he passed away. When was his death?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Let me see when that was. March of 2021. So yeah, he's been gone for 2 years, 3 months now. It was devastating. The entire Stargate community wept. And you know, he was always considered like in the same sphere as Camulus. So,
oh my God, dead on my birthday.
Wow. Yeah.
I have 2 birthdays. My actual birthday, not that, I mean, that doesn't mean anything, like, it's got nothing to do with me, but my actual birthday is March 9th. My legal is March 13th, which we get to later. But yeah, of course, shit, there's Cliff right there.
Yeah. He was, was it wind sailing, wind boarding? It was some kind of ocean activity. And yeah, it was sudden. It was, well, I mean, you know, it wasn't like cancer or anything. And it was wild. I had an interview with him scheduled 3 days after he died, and we had to scramble. I had to go on the air. My announcement video is still on Dial the Gate of me just sobbing my eyes out, having just heard like 15 minutes before that my guest for the weekend had just been killed. And it's one of those that, you know, just back to the point from earlier that you were saying, you know, you never know how long you got before you return to the abyss. Yeah. So gotta.
Yeah. Well, you know, the one thing I would say about that, he loved what he was doing. I know he loved, he was very adventurous, and I know that he spent a lot of his time rescuing animals as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he did a lot of things that were scary, and I think that's pretty amazing that he was able to go out that way. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who died at 62. He was a rigger on set, and he was very, very active. But he started getting degenerative. His spine was affected. His shoulders were. He was a very constantly athlete, but his bones were giving out. Yeah. And then, out of the blue, I find out Derek's dead. I'm like, what? But he was going down a run at Whistler, one of his favorite runs, one of his favorite things to do, and that's how he went out. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, I think it's amazing that if you're able to go when you're doing something you love, or you sleep. I don't know, one of those would be good. But rest in peace, brother.
Absolutely.
That's so sad.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's if you have to choose between debilitating illness or going out or on doing something that you love, I know what I would pick. And I guess that really comes down to everybody and what their definition of a debilitating illness is. But yeah, I loved him. I miss him, and you just never know how long you have. So I've got a few questions from fans.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's kind of
no. It's all good. It's all good. I appreciate your words for him. Yeah, it's I think a lot of what you're saying is very, very true in terms of how we live our lives and what it is that we have to remember that we're here to accomplish before, or what we can choose to accomplish before we return to wherever else we came from. So
yeah.
Lockwatcher says, you played Coburn in season 3 and 4. Did you notice anything different between how production was going earlier in the show before you returned to Camulus in season 8, or was it just like slipping back into the same production? Everything was running exactly the same.
I think the only difference was the level of knowing people on set and the familiarity. When I was playing the Coburn, and it was a little more nerves. So my perception of things was probably a little bit more stressful. And then playing Goa'uld and getting to wear that beautiful wardrobe, it was more me. It was more me,
Absolutely.
I was not a stiff, even though the character played tight, but there was that mischief within him, and so I for me personally, it was definitely a lot more creative, relaxed, and fun. Yeah. If I was doing straight on military, that sort of thing, I'd have to find something within that character to keep me grounded that wasn't just military.
Yeah.
So the character changed a lot of how I perceived or dealt with the production.
Absolutely. Mac Boland's conscious. He wants to know about Raid. Was your return to Andromeda always? I have not seen Andromeda, just so you know. Was your return to Andromeda? I know it's on my list. I have a long list.
Yeah, no.
Was your return to Andromeda always planned? And General Maximus wants to know if you have any fond memories from that production.
No, from season, I was in a pilot for Andromeda, and they killed me. And then I remember there was Robert Wolf was the showrunner saying, "It's a shame we're killing you because we really like you." I'm like, "Well, it is sci-fi. You can always bring me back as my clone." I actually threw that idea out there. People laughed at me. He's, "Oh, you can't believe it," because I didn't know Robert from Adam, and he was like a big deal. And well, that's how they brought me back. So I came back in a couple of flashbacks, a couple of things, right, exactly. So I had no idea, but I do remember when I can't remember Keith's last name. They needed a replacement for him because he wasn't going to come back season 4. And then it just, my ticket came up, and I'm like, cool, let's go.
Keith Cobb?
Yeah.
Is that it? Keith Hamilton Cobb. Wow. That is so cool. What a twist of fate.
I love that between seasons 4 and 5, I was doing a Civil War film, and because he was a lot stiffer a character again. He's shaved, and he had a little goatee, but it was really rigid, uptight. And between seasons, he'd gone off somewhere, probably to the abyss, became a raging addict of something or everything. His ideology had collapsed. Everything he believed in is gone. And then you find him on in some bar somewhere, and now he's got a beard, long hair, and that was a lot of fun. Like getting to loosen it up a little bit and fight and really get into just some of the comedy of the character that I always love to try bringing comedy with the action. That became a treat. That was a lot of fun. We were talking about a spinoff show as well with Kevin. Yeah, that was, the laughs were fun. I always loved going for laughs. I like getting, and they let me loose. Even when I was stiff, I try to get a laugh.
Of course.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite moments, even in Continuum, are Camulus rolling his eyes like he's this far away from just pulling out something, just knocking everyone out. It's like, I can't believe I'm having to deal with this right now. It's registering all over your face. It's great.
Yeah. So again, there was so much potential to keep going into something else. But I think Kevin wanted to go do a sitcom, and a lot of it rode on his shoulders in terms of where we were going to go after that. And so, again, you never know, and it goes whether in life or in the business. One of the bad things about this business is factors will bitch and complain about not having a gig. As soon as they get a gig, they want to go home. It's so funny. When am I going to go home? It's like, you're fighting to get on this set. What are you doing, man? Enjoy it.
Now you want to get out of here? Come on, stick around. You may create something cool.
It's we're nutty. People are nutty.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Philip Canat wants to know, I don't know if this is in jest or not. Please tell us, what is the fountain of youth you're drinking water from? I think he thinks that you haven't aged at all. Or maybe you're in a sarcophagus.
Yeah, it's a sarcophagus. But I got, I'm graying. I got my Andromeda mug here. No, I mean, I actually became probably, I think it was summer of 2019. I started, I became vegan.
Okay.
I'm not promoting it.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
For personal health reasons. I think that's definitely helped me regain some of my vitality. But you got to be a healthy vegan. And I constantly am moving. I have to move. In fact, when you were calling me, I was going to the gym. My back was tweaked a little bit. And I had to loosen it up. It's driving me. I hate not being able to go work out full force.
Right.
And I'm like one of the people who stays away from the help, the tea, or not that there's anything that wrong with it, but a lot of people are on testosterone or growth, and I'm trying to do this as long as I can, just with my food and with activity. So, humor, you got to laugh at the stress, and you got to move. If you got stress, you got to move. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's, plus probably genetics. My mom was in her mid 80s, and when she passed, and her skin was still great. Wow, it was amazing. I think we had a little bit Mongolian in our genes.
Okay.
I'm from Croatia, but Genghis Khan came through that area, and I don't know if that's some of it. And I'm quite dark. I think I'm getting darker as I age. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on. Plus, the lighting in this room is actually really good. So trust me, I look like shit most of the time. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Teresa,
I don't like looking. So I apologize.
No, that's funny. Steve, if you could have your choice of anything to work on for for the full run of a TV series, what would your dream role be? Would you want to do more comedy? Would you want to do more drama? More science fiction? What would your focus be to sink your teeth into a character for 5-6 seasons?
I mean, I'm my own worst enemy. So I like comfort, but I don't like comfort.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I need, I think in the wisdom of it to maintain awareness and moment to moment activity. I would love a role that constantly challenges me. So, some of the hardest things to do is comedy and as well as the physical aspects of that. I mean, I love what I'm doing. I love making things, as well as when I work on other productions, I try to infuse humor. I try to infuse some form of complexity if they allow it. I always dig sometimes a little too deep, and sometimes I got to back off. So I don't know. I'd be one of those things where I don't know if it would matter the type of role, but it would be something where I'd have to collaborate. Ideally, I'd love to collaborate, And my goal is never about self. I don't try to make the scene about my character. I try to make it about the story, what is going to move the story forward. And it's I mean, I know it's self-proclaimed unselfishness, but I think I am selfish. I have no idea. But I something with a little, not too much fighting, a little bit of action, bit of comedy, and of course, there has to be a depth. There has to be a cost to it. You know,
I used to going to get invested as an audience if there's something to lose.
Well, they have to exactly. I think that the best stories are relatable to us. Comedy is funniest when it's based in truth, you know, and the problem these days is they're not allowed to be an actor anymore. If everything's a type. Are you this? Are you that?
Yeah.
Like, no, this is me personally, and even me personally is fluid. I don't like to identify as anything. I don't want to be considered. I want to be considered a human being. I want us all to consider each other as human beings. Now, when I go to work, my chosen profession is I want to play other people. I want to play other situations, you know, and something that doesn't necessarily line up directly with my sensibility. I want a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
you know?
You should be allowed to be clay that can be molded into many different shapes. It doesn't mean you can do anything, but why not pretty close?
That's the point of art. Art is, you know, and this is show business, but in this particular form, what the audience experiences is the actor on the screen. Behind the actor is the director, writer, producer, yada, 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 camera operators, all the crew, lunch lady, the whoever. They're all there. But what the audience is there to do is to see a story through them, through the characters, through the sets, of course. So you got music, you got dialogue, you got the actors, you got, you know, even in the silence, it's all designed, but it's something to be interpreted individually, and we're not there to just go, oh, that's a bad guy, play bad guy. That's a so-and-so gets to play so-and-so. I can't name names, you know. You gotta, it's like, no, my job is to convince you that even though I don't seem this way, then that's who I am. That's my job. And that's what acting was, but I don't know what it is anymore. I have no idea.
I'll never forget watching Hairspray for the first time, and it said that John Travolta was in it, and I got to, I think I'm talking about Hairspray, and I got to the end of it, and I looked at the folks I was watching it with, and I was like, where was he? David, he was the mom. It's like,
oh yeah.
I didn't know that was him. Like, you know, that's the point. You know, that you get so far into it that it's nothing about, you know, who the person is in real life, not about their gender or whatever. It's what they've molded themselves to be for that project. And that was so cool. And I went back and watched it. I'm like, okay, I can see him, but I wasn't looking for him, you know?
I think the problem is today, I mean, I maybe, again, this is like, I'm the old guy saying, I remember in my day, but the problem is today that everybody with a phone is a celebrity.
Yeah.
And let's just take a look at influencers, for example. The ones that can sustain it, they have to actually start creating content. And then you don't see ones that can sustain it for very, very long, because to actually create content is hard. It becomes a skill set, right? So there's a few that have gone and done very well, and that they have a certain skill set. But just because an influencer or personality says something, it's just a thing. It's not based on a craft that say an actor or a musician or whatever art form you're talking about, even athletes or even good speech or anyone to develop that mastery. There's a I think today there's a disrespect for process. And it's no wonder most of the stuff we're seeing is shit, because they're not filling it with people who have earned that position. They're just filling it for whatever reason. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with a lot of the ideology, but the sort of the application of that ideology doesn't work because people are greedy by nature.
So it's so easy to forget that people are greedy.
if you put two people of similar, background, gender, whatever, in a room, and they have to fight for a role, trust me, they're not going to give a shit that they're similar. They're going to cut each other up. They're going to pull up the blades. Very few humans will lay down.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's it doesn't matter. It's so naive or sometimes it's worse than naive. It's as if we, the public, are supposed to believe all this bullshit. Like something is better than something else.
Yeah.
It's all subject to interpretation.
All subjective. So,
yeah, and I don't want to be in a situation where I'm being told by one extreme or another extreme how to think, what to believe. And the problem is most people are extremely lazy. I'm one of them, where you go, oh, this is who I am. Oh, cool. I believe in that. But they don't look at the behind the person. They don't look at the person's actions, their history, none of it. Because it's convenient to believe what you see. It supports what you believe. And people don't want to question their beliefs. I'm like, no, do it. Question all of it.
Don't take anything for granted.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing is gravity for now is pretty
it does suck. Yeah.
Yeah, gravity will suck. Yeah, and it's good. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be spinning around the sun. We'd be dead. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't exist. But I think that people have to. Again, I think what the powers to be rely on is how lazy we are. Because you can literally brand something, and that's the whole idea of brand. Is you trust it, you build this thing, and you go identify with that, or this is my brand, or that's my gang, or that's my tribe. Well, for me, it's about human tribe. Even though I was born in this country here, and it was Yugoslavia before, which was a nightmare. It was socialist. It was really, really bad. That doesn't identify me. It's just where I'm from, and I love my country, but I realize that I'm not going to fight other people because that's where I'm from. I don't want to fight anybody. Because we all got to get along. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're going to make it, absolutely. I completely agree. Teresa MC, what is your feeling about ad-libbing lines, straying from the text a little bit? Is it something that you enjoy, or do you feel like as long as it's being true to the text?
Yeah, I do. I think it's irresponsible to do it if you haven't. Like, for example, imagine you've spent 6 months writing a script and you've thought of the nuance, you've thought of the what everything means, and then you have someone coming in and go, oh, I'm just going to go willy-nilly. And me as an actor, I've done that. Me as a writer, I've allowed that. But if it doesn't line up with what my vision of it is as the writer or director or whatever, then I will allow it, because sometimes a fresh set of eyes is good, but sometimes it's just because they're either too lazy, or they don't understand the text, or they haven't done the work, and then I don't like it. I'm very careful when I do it. I just did a reboot of a show for Hallmark, and I was told by the director, this is what I want this character to be. So I read the script. I go, do you mind if I give you some notes? Because the definition of that character is not evident in the script, and we know that the editor is going to have a field day with this if I come in with something different. So they made some adjustments. But then on the day, I spoke to the other actor, and I said, for our characters to work, we have to have some clear definition between your character and my character in terms of our relationship, because I want some comedy in there as well. And that's only going to be clear if there's clear boundaries, right? And then, of course, I will ad-lib something at the beginning, and I'll button the scene, and usually I get a laugh off camera, and that's good. So, but I do it in a way that are you okay with this? You always got to, I think, to be respectful, check the temperature, make sure that, because once one person starts to do it, everyone they're not good at it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm always good at it. I'm okay at it, because I look at the whole story. I don't just look at it, well, this would be a clever line. Some of the worst things you can do to a story is put out a clever line, because it doesn't line up with the story. It takes you out of the story. you know? So
It's like you were saying, is it about you or is it not? You know, are you servicing the story?
a lot of actors, they won't learn their lines. Apparently, they'll come in and depending on the power, the power position, if it's their show, or their, especially the comedy, the director might just try this, try that. And I like that. I mean, I personally think I'm more creative out of structure, but the greatest challenge is they create the structure for you. There's the building. You got to go live in it. Let's just see how you occupy this space. You do have some liberty, but not a lot. And then try to make the best of that. And it's interesting, but it requires you not to be lazy. I think the best ad-libbing comes from a place of you've got all the work done, and now you can just be in the moment. And if something comes up, it comes up. But if they say nope, don't do that, you can fall back into the proper dialogue, and it doesn't throw you off. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's just sort of my process.
Steve, before I let you go, one last question. And you opened this door. I'm really curious now about your birthday. What's the story behind that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was born it was former Yugoslavia at the time, and a lot of people there, I think what the idea was, I don't even know, is because you had to serve in the army. Sometimes they didn't give your birth date until a year later. And I came from a small village. So I think the registrar is at least a few hours of walking away. And I think maybe it was just the day my dad went over and said, hey, I got another son. It happened to be the 13th instead of I was born on the 9th, but my legal birthday is the 13th. Some people have one of my sisters has 10 days between her birthdays in 2 different months. The others apparently are, 3 out of the 5 kids are, I think, have the real birthdays, but who knows?
Wow.
Yeah. I don't.
That's wild. Yeah. I was born on this day, but the document says this day. That's wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really care about that as much. I used to care about it in college because I could party between the 9th and the 13th. Let's go.
Absolutely.
I'll do.
I have my birthday week.
Where's my damn gifts? Let's go. 5 days of gifts. Yeah. Didn't work out. I never got that many gifts.
That's funny.
People got annoyed.
Steve, this was really cool. I appreciate you taking so much time to talk about your work, and I'm really excited for Shrink, Flat, and Broken Key. Did I get it right?
A Shrink, a Flat, and a Broken Key. I hope it. Yeah. Me. It's caused me a lot of stress these days, but.
Well, as an editor, I am here. You just let me know if you might take a look at it. I'd be happy to. But I think that you've got a vision, and you've got drive. Right, exactly. You've got a vision, and you've got the commitment to see it through to the end. And you're going to take your licks, and you're going to get through it, and you're going to come out the other end a bigger, better person as a result. So
maybe
right. We can only hope.
I don't know, man. That's the thing. I don't know. It's just experiences, right?
Yeah.
But
what doesn't kill you?
Like things that turn out.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. What'd you say?
I said, Camulus doesn't kill you.
That's
Camulus wants something else from me. He'll get you eventually.
Absolutely.
Let me shout out to my boy. See this right here?
Yes.
That was quick. There's a I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Steve Bacic. He was the UFC heavyweight champ, and I don't know if we have any UFC. He's from Cleveland, actually. You're in Chicago, right?
Nashville, but my family's from Chicago.
You're in Nashville. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyways, he's also a fellow Croatian, and anyways, I always have whenever I'm doing these things, I always have it. That's my background for whatever reason. But he's a good guy, and I want him to get another shot at the heavyweight championship. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Absolutely.
Before he retires.
Okay. Yeah. Urias Tosh asked, did you ever consider becoming a pro wrestler?
I played a pro wrestler.
I believe it. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I actually never considered it. Those people are real athletes.
Wow.
I've worked with the Biz, Mike. What was his last name? The Miz. God, he was in Marine. We did some Marine, Marine something 6. And he was a real wrestler, my size, but they're tough as heck. I'm not tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Marine 6. Let me see here. Michael. Yeah, I'm not.
They call him the Miz or the Biz.
Is it Shawn Michaels? Mike the Miz Mizanin.
That's him.
Yeah, and WWE Superstars. Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
I think he was on Big Brother, one of those shows first, and then he went on to wrestling, and then he started doing movies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Steve, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time, and please stay in touch on this project. I'd love to continue to promote it.
I might pick your brain.
Sure thing. You can have my number.
Come to Nashville, actually.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know, we were supposed to come into Nashville.
Okay.
So we were supposed to come for who's it? Creation.
Creation is going to have a Nashville event?
That's right. We were for Supernatural, and then it got pushed because of COVID, other reasons, and we just did it last summer. No, was it this year? I think it was this year.
Supernatural has a huge convention following. There are fans who are ravenous for that show. So
yeah. I had a pretty funny episode in that one too. So yeah,
there you go.
Anyway,
I'm going to wrap up the show on this end, sir. Thank you again for your time. You take care of yourself, okay?
All the best, and to all the fans, God bless.
Thank you, Steve. Be well. Steve Bacic, Coburn and Camulus in Stargate SG-1, and also Raid in Andromeda. I hope I'm pronouncing right. RHADE. I think that's correct. Before we let you guys go, I want to make sure to answer the questions that were given to me here. Jacob Olihars, as a fan of Lost, have you seen From yet? And if yes, what do you think? What is From? So no, I have not. From TV series. Let's have a look at this thing. From, stylized as From, American science fiction horror television, created by John Griffin for Epix. Harold Perrineau is in it. All right. Walt! Kind of Alan Bale. Okay. No, I have not seen this. It looks nightmarish town in middle America that traps everyone who enters. Unwilling residents strive to stay alive and search for a way out, plagued by terrible nocturnal creatures in the surrounding forest. Okay. It reminds me a lot of I don't know, what was that show? Amazon, when Amazon was first toying with television series, they produced a pilot, and it was actually really good. And it came out for one episode, The After. That's what that reminds me of. It's very, I kind of get that vibe from it. And it was created by Chris Carter, who did the X-Files, and he was trying to go for like Dante's levels of hell in the end of it. But that's kind of, I will definitely check out From. Right now, we're talking about Lost. I just started Manifest about 5 or 6 episodes in, because it just wrapped on Netflix. And I'm not proud of this, but I don't watch a show until it's done. I know that it has like an ending, a serviceable ending to it. It's the rare TV show that I will watch on a cliffhanger. But I'm enjoying Manifest so far. It has a lot of the kind of the same energy as Lost. If you've not seen Lost, it's my favorite television show. I cannot recommend it to folks enough. Jeremy, are we going to do something wacky for episode 200? There is a 200th episode planned with someone special. I'm just nailing down the information right now. Wacky will probably be episode 199. So that's what I will say about that. I'm still coordinating. We are barreling forward to 200. And it's interesting trying to line it all up, because if I have the guest that I want to have for it, it's going to be interesting to coordinate for sure. Teresa MC, do you have in your collection models to scale to show their size comparison if they were actual size? I do not. I just have the space for them to fit on my shelf. There is a Stargate ship scale map. You can Google it. It's pretty legit, and of course I can't pull it up, but let's see if I can pull this up here. And it's a postage stamp in size, but let me show you this real quick. So there are assets that you can get online that do show those. I just don't happen to have. They were built for shelf size, not so much for scale with one another. I think that's what we have here for everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Dial the Gate. And thanks again to Steve Bacic for joining me. Thanks so much for Anthony for moderating this episode, for making the show possible. To my producer, Linda Gategaber Fury, and my webmaster, Frederick Mark Koo, who keeps Dial the Gate up and running. This coming week, I'm planning to have Gwyneth Walsh coming on to talk about her role as Egeria, but that's going to be a pre-recorded episode. She's not going to be on live for that. That's currently slated for this coming Saturday, June the 17th at 11 Pacific. I may move it around depending on who else I get, because I want to line up the runway for 200. Stargate Trivia 9, hosted by Colin Cunningham. That's going to be this Saturday, June the 17th at noon Pacific time. Rob Fournier, the armorer, one of the armorers for Stargate SG-1 Atlantis in Universe, the following Saturday, June the 24th at 12 noon. And of course, on June the 18th at 1 p.m. Pacific, Wormhole Extremist is going to be back for Learning Curve and Point of View. That's all the news that's fit to print. I appreciate you tuning in. This series is just continuing to grow, and I appreciate everyone for watching. Thanks again to Steve Bacic for making this episode possible. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.